Welcome to the Sentinel Report. I'm your host, Alex Newman. Thank you for joining us on this Memorial Day, or if you're watching or hearing us later, thank you for joining us anyway. We've got so much going on today, folks. We've got a very special guest joining us today to talk about Islam and Sharia. We've got Donald Trump going around the Middle East, and you're really going to want to hear this segment. It is absolutely critical. We also have the great Kevin Sorbo joining us to talk about a great new movie that is about to come out about our history as Americans. And then, of course, a segment with the great Mike Lindell that you're not going to want to miss. Also, lots of great news, including the fact that our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has announced that the U.S. military will no longer be a globalist institution. Stay tuned for all that and more. First, a word from the Word. This comes out of Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 48. The Bible reads, "You have heard it said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust." So let's remember, folks, those who stand against us, those who persecute us, and those who hate us, they're not our enemies. They are the mission field. We are to love them, even if we disagree with them. But that doesn't mean we don't tell them the truth. Okay. So all that to say, we need to do more to be more like Jesus. Now, going to the news, folks, I mentioned Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense. He just had some incredible comments I've got to share with you. Check it out.
It's America first meets peace through strength, which means you understand the objectives, how they advance American interests. You're not utopian or globalist and naive in your views of remaking human nature or nation building. These globalist ideas that you're gonna change an entire society through military intervention, which you saw us attempting. I lived it in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then you see the consequences. We've seen that movie before. We're not doing it again. And I think what we did in the Houthi campaign in Operation Rough Rider is an example.
And a lot more where that came from, folks. So we are very blessed to have Pete Hegseth, I believe, as Secretary of Defense. That's why the regime hates him so much, the regime media propagandists. I've worked with him on his great series, Miseducation of America. He endorsed our book, of course. And he's the real deal, folks. That's why they're constantly harping on getting him out of office. That told me he was one of the best picks out there. Now, Trump is going to the Hill to pressure lawmakers. He's asking them to please pass his big, beautiful bill. Here's what he says.
Look, the alternative is a 68% tax increase. And you can blame the Democrats for that and one or two grandstanders. We only have one or two, but we have tremendous support. But you'll have a 68% tax increase, or you'll get a massive tax decrease. You'll get a tax cut, the likes of which we've never had before. This is bigger than any Ronald Reagan tax cut. It's even bigger than the tax cut that I gave, because as you know, that's being extended and increased. So this is the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, or you'll get a 68% tax increase.
Yeah, so folks, there's a lot of critics of this bill. Senator Ron Johnson has been critical in an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Congressman Chip Roy, one of the most conservative members, says he wants the legislation to address the deficit numbers and tax policy before he votes in favor of it. Check it out.
You know, Congressman, in my opinion, Moody's has done this before. It's political. We've seen this play by them. The market reaction, that yawn that Dagan mentioned earlier. What else? You've mentioned the Green New scam. What else do you want to see that gets you to that yes vote, to Dagan's earlier question?
Yeah, I'd like to see more of the deficit numbers that we're seeing that are front-loaded be brought down. Right now, if you look at the chart with the data and the analysis that is most favorable to the big, beautiful bill, it still shows about $1.4 trillion in additional deficit spending over the first 5 years. Then it drops off. And in the last 5 years, you get significant deficit reduction so that it works out to be close to a wash. Now, my problem is I've been in D.C. for a little bit, but anybody watching this, would you go bet your life savings that in 5 years we're going to wake up and find those savings? No.
Folks, I hate to say it, but I think he's probably right. Do you guys think in 5 years, Congress and whoever is in the White House are going to say, oh, big cuts, here they come, nothing we can do? We know it's not. Now, another big critic of the bill, Congressman Thomas Massie. Trump is pretty upset with him, but, I think Thomas Massie is definitely one of the most constitutionalist members of Congress, and I think his voice deserves to be heard. I've interviewed him before and shared the stage with him. He is a great American, despite Trump being all mad at him. And frankly, I'm glad that people are having the spine to speak up about this crazy spending, folks. We just have to get it under control. So hopefully they can go back to the table, reduce the spending a little bit more, and then make a compromise and get this thing through. Now, Bill Gates of hell is ripping into Elon Musk and the cuts to U.S. aid. Apparently, it's going to hurt children. Baloney. Listen to this.
I do want to ask you about U.S. aid and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, and I know that you called him...
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know, you've said that already. I wondered...
Also,
and I'm just...
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets.
That is painful. Yep, that is painful. But we all know it's true. We all know it's true. Folks, we got so much from our guests. We're going to cut our news segment short. There's so much more to say. Before we go, I do want to encourage you to get over to refiningrhetoric.com. That's where our friend Robert Bortons puts his excellent podcast on some of the most important issues facing our country, our culture, and especially on the education topic, which you all know is near and dear to my heart. He's the CEO of Classical Conversations, where I have my children enrolled for homeschooling. I highly encourage you to check it out. classicalconversations.com/LSM, like Liberty Sentinel Media, classicalconversations.com/LSM. Stay with us. We're going to be right back with the great Kevin Sorbo here on the Sentinel Report.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Welcome to the Sentinel Report. Alex Newman, your host here. Thanks so much for being with us, folks. As you know, if you watch this program regularly, I'm not a big fan of Hollyweird, right? It's mostly because they produce garbage masquerading as entertainment. But one thing that's been near and dear to my heart is the history of our country. You cannot understand how we became such a great nation without knowing about our history, and yet it has been systematically erased from the minds of our young people through a combination of fake media and government schools and other terrible things, fake history books. But now there is a new resource to combat all of that in one, right? Good, godly entertainment, and also some info and some insight onto our history as a nation. Joining us now to discuss is the great actor Kevin Sorbo, a superstar, distinguished American actor, producer, director. He was Hercules in Hercules, of course, and he's had many other roles. We've had his wife and his son on this program as well. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. And I so appreciate all the great entertainment and godly work you guys are doing, including God's Not Dead and the subsequent releases. You guys are just doing excellent work. So thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. You know, I actually, I'm the first cancel culture victim in Hollywood. I got booted up by my manager and agent about 11 years ago saying they couldn't work with them anymore because the studios didn't like my posting. And I said, you mean on the internet, I post the truth? Is that a problem with you guys here in Hollywood? So we formed Sorbo Studios. And, you know, since movies like God's Not Dead, I've done probably 40 movies since then. I've got actually 4 new ones coming out this year, 3 new documentaries coming out this year. And I'm very blessed to keep on going. I'm about to direct a movie in October, and I'm heading to Vancouver right now to shoot a sci-fi faith-based movie next week.
Oh, that is fantastic, Kevin. And I can't imagine how you find time for it all, in addition to raising godly children. But really, really grateful for all that you're doing. You've got a new film coming out. It's actually dropping June 9th through 11th in theaters nationwide. It's going to be a short duration in theaters, folks, so make sure you make arrangements to go see it. But Kevin, you play the younger Thomas Jefferson. It's called The American Miracle.
I came to persuade you to avoid these dangers.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
If our union is to hold together, something must be done.
He will become founder of a mighty empire.
The fate of unborn millions now depends under God upon the conduct and courage of this army.
Various founders talked about this providential experiment that God had ordained and intervened at this unique moment in American history to make all of this happen.
Most of them believed that there were no accidents in history.
That hope for liberty was the light that under God, he would lead them.
All eyes are open or opening to the rights of man.
Am I all mankind?
We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings, that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it.
It cannot be denied that with America and in America, a new era commences in human affairs.
America is something that I hold in my heart.
Americans of today should regain our bearings, that our nation is no accident.
You know, I worked with Tim Mahoney before. I actually was the narrator on, I think it was one of his first documentaries. It's called Exodus Proof of Evidence, where he spent a very long time in Egypt through archaeological digs to prove that the Exodus did actually happen. He does not give up easily, Tim. He does great work, and they approached me with this. I played Lincoln before. I played George Washington, so why not play Thomas Jefferson? So we're looking forward to this. We're actually having a special screening at the Kennedy Center. I think there are tickets still available for people to go there. I think that's June 5th, I believe. And the release is like a 2 or 3 day weekend. And just, you know, get documentaries in the theaters in any way is always a bonus. I love documentaries, but they filmed this pretty much like a movie as well. And it just really shows how not only godly and faith-based men that our founding fathers were, but how convicted they were to bringing independence to America. I mean, they knew they were committing acts of treason. They knew that they would have been hung if King George had his way. So it's an amazing story of how America became America and became the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, amen. And as I said in the Declaration of Independence, pledging their lives, their fortunes,
Yeah.
and their sacred honor. That's no small feat. Kevin, in the film, and I haven't seen the whole thing yet. I hope I can get to the premiere, but I got to be in Idaho for a homeschool convention. But you are Thomas Jefferson, and you're wrestling with this idea of the Louisiana Purchase and radically expanding the size of the United States. Talk to us about that role. I mean, what was it like to have to get into the mind of a superhero like Thomas Jefferson?
Well, it's amazing to look at how that even came about, as well as, you know, purchasing Alaska down the road after that. I mean, to get those pieces of land were unbelievable, and they got them for pennies on the dollar, basically. So it was an obviously a great expansion of America. You know, to me, it was brilliant. These guys were brilliant. They really were. And you mentioned earlier something that struck with me for a long time is, now we're home educators, and you do the same thing. I know you, my wife, Sam. And the whole idea really of what's going on now in our public schools, they're just getting worse and worse and worse as the decades pass on. I think before the 1960s, we were #1 in the world in education. I think around 40 now. So we should be very proud of what our public schools are doing to our kids. But as Ronald Reagan said about the government, he said, "These are the words to fear. Hi, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." So we know that we got to get the government way out of the business of educating our children. And this is one way to educate our children in a proper way. Because you're right, they don't teach history anymore. When I was in school, high school, I took American history, I took Far Eastern study, I took Russian studies. I mean, it was fascinating to me to get the history of all these different countries and how these different places formed and how they became to what they are today. So we need to get this out to every single school, but good luck with that. But I think we're going to put the big battle on to make sure that kids of all ages are able to see this.
Amen. Yeah, this will be a resource long into the future for sure.
Yep.
One of the things that I like the most about this film, Kevin, that's why when they sent me information, I was like, wow, this is huge. We haven't been talking about this as a nation for a long time. But the whole title of the movie is The American Miracle, Our Nation is No Accident. And of
Yeah.
course, it's based on the book by Michael Medvedev of
Yep.
the same title. And one of the premises is that God's hand was on this whole thing. As the founder said in the Declaration of Independence, divine providence. Talk about that. Do you believe that, Kevin? Do you believe God's hand was on America as it was born as a nation?
Oh, no question. I mean, you look at the American Revolution as a whole, what happened. You look at the Civil War, when we battled within ourselves, the things that happened to form this country and then to keep the country together. There's got to be some sort of divine purpose in there to have that happen, because we're still the country of choice for most people around the world. Aren't going to other countries; they're coming to America, and we welcome them here. And I love what our president currently is doing right now, and making sure people come in. And once again, shows you how horrible the last administration was when they let tens of millions of people flood across the border, saying everything's under control. So, the falseness of what they were doing and the lies that they were doing are becoming very clear and very evident to people that were closing their eyes to what was really happening. So I love what these forefathers did. They were men. They were brilliant men. I love how the left us, we're losing our democracy. I'd love to, because I like to make it a republic, because that's what we were supposed to be in the first place.
Amen. Right? People need to read their Constitution again. People need to read the Federalist Papers. It's so crystal clear. Kevin, zooming out a little bit, I started off the segment with and frankly, it's disgust with Hollywood. I
Yeah.
can't even bear to watch that. The only reason we still have a TV in our house is because of godly content put out by people like you guys and some of the other Christian studios that are popping up. But how do we move away from this nasty culture that has been, I think, engineered partly by Hollywood? How do we move away from that and back toward God honoring, family friendly content?
Well, Hollywood obviously works with the Democrat Party in Washington, D.C. They both have their bubbles they live in. And my biggest concern is when Disney keeps putting out these movies. I'm sure old Walt is flipping in his grave what they're doing to his name. They keep losing money. I mean, this latest movie of Snow White's going to lose about $400 million. People are tired of the woke thing. We've reached a good tipping point. Everything, ever since COVID sort of came to an end, COVID still exists, but you saw the fear factor the governments of every level love to use to control the people, not only in America, but every country around the world. And what I love is that so many people now are starting to they're speaking up and not being afraid. Over the last 6, 7 years, I would get a dozen people coming up during the filming. Say I'm shooting a movie for 6 weeks. I'll get people at different times of that time period quietly coming up to me and saying, "Hey, thanks for being a voice for us." And I go, "Dude, be a voice for yourself." Well, I don't want to get blacklisted like you. Yeah, I got blacklisted. I'm still making movies. Yeah, they're not calling me to do big budget movies or big budget television shows anymore, but I'm doing movies that make a difference. I'm doing movies that Hollywood used to do, movies that have love, hope, redemption, faith, laughter, things that are missing in our movies. They fill their movies still with nothing but sex and violence and hate and anger. And to me, it's like, why are we doing this to the world? I mean, Walt Disney himself said back in 1950s, movies and television are going to influence our youth. Well, we can see that he meant that either side of the fence on there, because it can influence for good, it can influence for bad. And I'm going to go bunch back to the schools. They don't teach civics in schools anymore because they don't want kids to grow up realizing that it's we the people. The government doesn't want that. They want we the government. And I'm hoping that the movies I do and other independent producers are doing are slowly changing the minds, and more people in Hollywood, trust me, are wanting to do more movies like they used to do. It's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually just interviewed your son Braden recently. He's got a new
Yeah.
book out about masculinity. It's so
Yeah.
good. And whenever you see a young man who's doing great things, almost always you have a dad who raised him up right. I know this isn't kind of why we brought you on, but just talk a little bit about family. I mean, what do dads need to be doing to raise up good kids in this filthy culture that we find ourselves in today?
We know Kirk Cameron and I do a lot of work with Brave Books. He's the #1 king for those guys, but they brought me along as the B player, and I do a lot of interviews with those guys. I got my first 2 books out with them. And one is called The Bare Essentials of Father. It's about the importance of fathers and family. And the first one is called The Test of Linehood, and it's about letting boys grow up to be strong men, strong pillars in the community, strong husbands, fathers. This whole craziness of what we're doing now. I'm sorry, people. There's just 2 genders. It's male and female. I mean, there's nothing to argue about here. And the insanity of what this world's going through right now is just nuts. And I love the fact that it is important to show the importance of fathers in the family. There's no question about it. And I'm going to keep fighting that good fight. My kids are awesome, and a lot of that has to go to my wife as well. She did the majority of the homeschooling. I took care of the physical fitness part of it. So But to me, it's my three kids are incredible. And that's Braden's second book. His first book he wrote like 3 years ago. His initials are BS, Braden Sorbo. His first book was the BS Guide to Politics for Young People. So he's a warrior out there. He last night he and I were he did the opening benediction. I did the opening and introduction of Joe Concha from Fox at Trump 47. It's a club here in Florida that brings in over 1,200 people, fills up this one building every time. We've had speakers from President Trump to Carrie Lake to whoever, Kristi Noem. We've had so many great speakers there over the years. So Joe brought the house down last night, and Braden got up and just knocked the place out, not only with amazing prayer, but really giving a plug for his book and what he's doing. And now they've invited him back. He's going to open for one of the other best speakers. He's going to give a 20-minute speech on the things he's doing. He does a lot of work with Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, and he's a go-getter out there. Trust me. He wants to run for office one day. So.
Yeah, well, he'll do well. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And actually, I made all 5 of my sons watch that interview I did with him, because a lot of good pointers there for young men and boys growing up to be hopefully good young men. Kevin, in the last few minutes that we have, a big picture question for you. There's a lot of pessimism among conservatives and Christians, and there has been for a long time, even with Trump in office. Now kind of some people are going back to sleep, but are you optimistic about the future of our country? I mean, obviously tough things going on, but are you hopeful that we can turn this around?
No question. Look, everybody got to remember, it's funny how the Democrats go after everything he does. They don't want to. We have the Panama Canal back. Does the mainstream media even talk about that? He says we're getting it back, and then nobody talks about it. The stuff he's doing in the Middle East is fantastic. Are you kidding me? And this is a big ship, and the damage the Democrat Party did, it was a blessing they stole the 2020 election. Anybody with half a brain knows that they didn't win that election, but that's fine. That was God's way of showing other people to wake up. Let the idiots wake up, leave the useful idiot crowd and move to the common sense crowd and realize, oh my gosh, look at what we're doing to America, and look what we're doing to the world. So, I've lived overseas. I've lived in New Zealand 7 years. I lived in Europe 3.5 years. I've lived in Australia. And all these people said, you Americans think you're the center of the world. And I go, we kind of are. I mean, I look at what you got in New Zealand and Australia, which are beautiful countries, but they got American stuff everywhere there. So, look, and it's no bashing against them. I love those countries. I lived in New Zealand 7 years filming Hercules, and the people are wonderful. I had a blast down there. But the reality is, if we lose America, this world's going to go downhill in a very quick hurry. So I think it's a blessing that we saw the damage that Biden did with his administration. And it's a blessing that Trump got back in. And I think, just give it some time, guys. He's already doing some amazing things. Our border's down, 95% in crossings? That's a pretty good start even right there, but he's done so many other things since then. So you wait. In 2 years, it's going to be amazing for America. It's going to be unbelievable.
Praise the Lord. And folks, be in prayer about that. Kevin, before we let you go, practical tips. Obviously, people can expose their family to good content, good entertainment.
Sure.
A lot of that they can find at Sorbo Studios. But other tips for Americans who do want to get our country back on track, who do want to restore the foundations of what made us great in the first place.
Well, don't let anyone set your limitations, especially yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't let fear rule your life, I mean, I'll take it from Roosevelt. The only thing to fear is fear itself, and there's truth to that. So just wake up and get out there and not be afraid and speak up. I think the cancel culture thing is dwindling very quickly. The woke thing is going away as well. And I think the people are getting so fed up with what the mainstream media is doing. I don't want to call them mainstream media, but I can't believe that they're still doubling down on their hate and anger, but that's what they're doing. But people are fed up with it. I see it all around me. So keep on fighting the good fight. Don't be afraid, and get out there and speak the truth. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is do it.
Absolutely. And folks, a good place to start this movie, The American Miracle. It's going to be in theaters June 9th through 11th. If you're in or near DC, June 5th, there's going to be a premiere there. Kevin, what's the best way for people to connect with you guys, to follow your work, get your books, Sorbo Studios, of course, and you're on social media? How else do people follow you?
Follow me on Twitter. I mean, Facebook, that wussy Zuckerberg took me down 3.5 years ago for posting the truth. I lost 4 million followers. Where are they? Now he's kissing Donald Trump's behind. Oh, I'm with you, buddy. You're my man now. It's like Noah once the rain started. God, is this the real thing? Okay, God, it's you and me now, So the reality is, go to sorbostudios.com. A lot of good stuff going on there. And also, I got to throw out there right now, my wife and I usually take a trip to Israel every year. We follow in the footsteps of Jesus. This year, we're following in the footsteps of Paul. We still got a few seats left open. You guys want to join us? It's a 12-day trip. At the end of September, we're going to go through, follow the footsteps of Paul in Greece. And of course, the last day, after the 12 days there, we're going to go to Mount Olympus because, hey, I was Hercules. There's my sword right there. Right there's my sword. So I hope you guys join us. You can find all the information on sorbostudios.com. Come join us on this amazing trip. You'll have a blast.
Absolutely. Kevin, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the program. Thanks for all these great movies you're putting out there, and keep up the good work, sir.
More to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and God bless you. All right, folks, that's all for this segment. Go check out these movies. It's really, really good stuff. I've seen a lot of them. My family and I watch them. They're doing really, really good work, and it's a blessing. Right? He did Climate Hustle, great film that he narrated, Climate Hustle 2. So there's just a lot of good stuff out there. Great family. And folks, we need to encourage more of this, right? The more we stop watching Hollywood, the more we stop paying our cable bills and paying for this filthy garbage masquerading as entertainment, and the more we support good content, the faster the new industries will rise up and dominate, and the faster the old industries, the liars, the propagandists, the haters, the filth promoters will go broke, right? Go woke, go broke. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more here on the Sentinel Report.
In 1776, a nation was born, forged in the crucible of revolution. Brave men and women stood together fighting for freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. Introducing Patriot Mobile, the wireless carrier that stands with you. We are committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile. For free activation, use promo code Newman.
Welcome back to the Sentinel. Alex Newman, your host here. Thanks so much for being with us, folks. Get over to the Liberty Sentinel website. That's at libertysentinel.org, libertysentinel.org. You can sign up for our free newsletter. You'll find all kinds of stuff, not just our shows that we do, the Liberty Report, the Sentinel Report, Behind the Deep State, Conversations That Matter, the Alex Newman Show, and so much more. But you'll also find a lot of articles that are really, really critical. Also, if you follow us on X, Alex Newman _JOU, you'll see that we just posted something about Donald Trump popping in at the Abrahamic family house in Abu Dhabi. I was just there a couple of years ago, excuse me. And it's kind of like a one world religion monument. It's really weird. It started with this declaration, Abu Dhabi Declaration, that claimed that the diversity of religions was willed by God. Pope Francis, of course, was one of the key authors, also one of the big imams, one of the biggest imams. And they really don't like extremists, which I think by extremists, they mean anybody who doesn't agree with them. But joining us to discuss all this and more is Annie Cyrus. She's the founder of Live Up to Freedom. She actually was born into an Islamic family in Iran. So she knows a little bit about what we are talking about after the Islamic Revolution. Took the Shah out and turned the mini America of the Middle East into an Islamic dictatorship. She eventually left. It's an incredible story. We'll talk to her about it today. Annie, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on your show, Alex.
It's an honor to have you, Annie, and we, of course, have known each other for some years. I so appreciate all that you do, including sounding the alarm about the dangers of so many different things, especially radical Islam and Sharia and all the rest. You've got a really great article that I want to talk about, too. We actually posted part of it at the website, The Constitution versus Sharia, One Must Fall. But let's start with this Abu Dhabi Abraham family house adventure. I was just there a couple years ago, and it really struck me as weird. They got the pyramid in the middle, and we're all big, good buddy friends. What do you make of this? Are Christians and Muslims really worshiping the same God? Can we all be just happy friends together?
Absolutely not. The moment I heard the news, well, I've been talking or speaking out against this interfaith dialogue narrative since day one, basically, saying that this is just a setup, because it is a setup. But then when I heard about President Trump visiting and signing the guest book and, kind of getting the image that, oh, this is all good, it's peaceful, I actually released another Substack to break it down. Since we don't have hours, I'm just going to give the key points. Number one, the biggest issue I have with especially Christians believing in interfaith dialogue is the fact that if you read the Quran, Jesus of Quran is nothing but a man, nothing but a prophet of Islam. In Quran, we, the Christians, are the infidels for the fact that we believe in Trinity. So for any Christian to ever think that there is a possible way for us to coexist under the same guidance of our faith, our God, and our Lord and Savior, that's just an illusion. That's a lie. It can't happen.
Yeah, it's and I think there's a lot of ignorance about this, and I will be the first to confess that there was a time when I thought, we could be friends, that we all worship the same God, we're all the Abrahamic family tradition, and then the more I dug, the more I realized that was not true. Annie, give us a little bit of your background for the folks who aren't, and you've been all over the place. You have done so many shows, you've been associated with a lot of big people, but for those who don't know you and your incredible story of growing up as a young girl in Iran, fleeing through Turkey, and eventually getting to America. What was it like living under the Iranian interpretation, the Shia interpretation of Islamic law?
I like the way you phrase that question, because you're not living, you're just alive under their mercy as a woman. So quickly, I was born in Islamic Republic of Iran, meaning I was born after the Islamic Revolution, into a very Islamic family. And by law of Sharia, I was declared an adult woman at age 9. Every girl is. And I pretty much got in trouble for being a very normal teenager, singing loud, having nail polish, not properly wearing my hijab. Longest story short of over a dozen times of arrest and lashes in present time. My father decided to follow Sharia and sold me to a man who was willing to pay the fair amount that my male guardian thought is fair for me. And I became this man's wife at age 13. About a year and a half later, my grandmother, may she rest in peace, who lived life before the Islamic Iran and knew better, she actually hired the smugglers to smuggle me out of the country from Iran to Turkey, where I actually, surprisingly, I went to United Nations and they used to do their job. They did my case, they got me asylum, and from there, I, through proper channels, waited my term and got a welcome to United States of America I-94 visa in 2002 and came to America, and the rest is history.
Praise the Lord. And of course, people are out there thinking, 13? Who would marry a 13-year-old girl? That's insane. And yet, of course, they're just following in the tradition of Muhammad, who married a 6-year-old girl and consummated that marriage at age 9, which is, of course, agreed upon by Islamic scholars, right? So 13 is actually not that young if you are an imam and you're reading the Quran too much. You have an article, Annie, that's really, really good. So good that we cross-posted it over at libertysentinel.org, and that is the Constitution versus Sharia. One must fall. And I remember 10 years ago, people were talking about this. Oh, don't be so extreme. There's no threat of Sharia. You conspiracy theorist wackos. There's never going to be Sharia in America. Now it's, with that big Muslim thing they're building in Texas, the Epic, and you've got Patterson, New Jersey being taken over by Muslims. You got all kinds of stuff. I just got back from Minnesota. Of course, Minneapolis, parts of it look just like the Middle East. Maybe now it's not so ridiculous, but you say the Constitution is incompatible with Sharia. Some people might call that hateful. Why do you say that, Annie?
If you don't mind me make a quick correction, actually Sharia is incompatible with Constitution of United States of America.
Very good. Explain.
Thank you. Sure. Okay, so I'll do this as quick as I can. Let me start with the Constitution first. Under United States Constitution, which I should say I'm in love with, when I read it and I studied it and I understood it, I think it is definitely the closest to perfection of Constitution ever written. But we are given, the citizens of this country, Americans are given basic rights that we could also call as God-given rights. And then we have expanded rights outside of Declaration of Human Rights, originally created by Cyrus the Great, King of Persia, and then adapted by United Nations. So there are two tiers of rights that we have. The God-given rights are absolutely 100% opposite of Sharia, because Sharia, which translates to English into Islamic laws, Islamic laws are rights given by Allah. The rights given by Allah, which in many of my videos, if your audience are interested, liveuptofreedom.com, you can find them. I have proven through Quran itself that Allah is Satan. Rights given by Satan can never, ever match the God-given rights we have in America, because our God is merciful. Our God is love. Our God is unity. Their God, or Satan, or Allah, refers to its people as his slaves and rewards them if they die in path of Allah while killing infidels and non-believers. There is no possible way, emotionally, mathematically, physically, religiously, to match these two levels of opposite.
That is fascinating, Annie. Thank you for sharing that. And again, I said earlier, a lot of people thought this was kind of ridiculous that we were even talking about Sharia law in the Western world, and yet today you look at parts of Western Europe, and they're essentially governed by Sharia. I mean, the police are afraid to go in. These Islamic courts make the decisions with binding effect. Are you concerned that this is a realistic prospect in the United States? I mean, is it really possible that Sharia is going to take root in America?
I will say it already has. The question is, can we reverse it? And let me back that with few facts here. I'm actually currently working on a piece where I'm making a list of all of the Sharia obeying Muslims in America who one way or another have access to our government, from local, state, federal, or just appointed by other people, including the president. As of right now, we're looking at confirmed over 183 Sharia obeying active Muslims across our government. And out of 183 of them, there are more than 50 that are actively pushing for Sharia to be replacing some of our laws, not necessarily the constitutional part, but the rules and regulation and law and order of the states are being pushed. So that's why I say it's already here. Is it going to keep growing? Or are we going to figure out a way? Well, we already have the way. Are we going to figure out find someone who's willing to enforce the existing law, constitutional law of this land, and reverse this damage? That's my only concern. I don't think we will, but the concern of is Sharia going to start infiltrating and becoming part of America? Unfortunately, we're past that point.
Yeah. And actually, I did an article for Freedom Project just last week. We mentioned on the show last week about a $5 million grant to the Al-Aqsa Society of Philadelphia so they could expand their Islamic school from 300 students to 3,000 students. I know you just recently did an article about that in Front Page Magazine. I think a lot of people dismiss that as like, oh, that's just a kooky Democrat governor, no big deal. Is that a foreboding or troubling omen of things to come if we're not careful?
It most certainly is, and it's not, Alex. It's not even about my. I have had people who said, "Oh, you just had a bunch of bad experiences." This isn't even about my bad experiences. This isn't about you being, excuse me, a devout Christian. This is about evidence. When we fund an Islamic school, what we're funding is teaching of, I don't know if your audience, I don't think they can. There are 3 books here in front of me, and I'm going to actually pull them up all in green because green is the color of Islam. This is what they teach in their schools. Reliance of the Traveler, which is a collection of Islamic sacred laws, Sharia. They teach the Hadith and they teach the Quran. It doesn't matter what the location is. It doesn't matter in what language they're teaching it. The basis of what we're funding for those 3,000 Muslim students to go and learn their Islamic roots and their Sharia equals Quran 5:51. Oh, you who have believed, do not take Christians and Jews as your allies. Quran 9:6. Slay them wherever you find them. On and on. It's the same base that is being taught in America while we're funding it. So we are, I have said, I know I sound like a broken record, but we're definitely funding our own demise. And I don't know what more we can do as far as showing proof and evidence in their own text and their own actions and reactions for Americans to realize this isn't us being radical or far right or racist or Islamophobe. I'm okay with those labels, but that's not what we are. We love America. More than that, if you don't mind me saying, Alex, since 2017 when I was saved, I have learned that there is only one judgment that I will worry about, and the day I stand in front of our Father, I want to say I stood and told the truth regardless of consequences.
Amen. Yep, couldn't agree with you more. And as the Islamic texts teach, Allah is the greatest of deceivers, folks. So you may not hear all of this from the fake media or even from Muslims you might see on TV, but it's important to look at their texts themselves. Anyway, we're almost out of time, but just some final thoughts from you on what can an everyday person do about this concern. Is it too late for Sweden? Is it too late for the UK? Is it too late for France to reverse this? And how do we make sure we in the United States don't get there? What can our viewers, what can our listeners do to stop that?
To answer your question of European countries, I never believe it's too late because it's not over until it's over, and it isn't over yet. Look, people of my motherland, Iranian people, are fighting every day. Even though they've been conquered, they've been oppressed and ruled by the regime of mullahs for more than 47 years, they haven't given up yet. So watching them every day, I wouldn't ever dare say it's over for European countries or Canada or us here. Is it harder to reverse what has happened in Europe? Absolutely. Even Europeans can, well, it's a lot harder for them because they don't have our constitution. They don't have our laws, but they still can reverse this. Now, to answer the question of what our fellow Americans can do, I'm going to address our fellow Christians first. Please pick up your Bibles. Read your Bible. You don't need your pastor to translate. When you're reading the Bible, God will talk to you. Just listen. Holy Spirit will guide you through the decisions you need to make to either stand by your faith or be the popular neighbor who invites everybody over, even if they have to remove the pork from their table. Every American, now let's move on from the Christian. If you're an American, you need to realize the number one requirement to be an American is not your race, it's not your skin color, it's not even your language. It's your love of freedom. What you're welcoming here is the symbol of oppression. So if you are an American, if you believe we the people deserve the God-given rights written in our Constitution, you have no choice but to pick up the phone, call your representatives and say, listen, in our Constitution, any foreign laws are forbidden. So you're going to start enforcing banning of Sharia from mosques and schools in America, or I will have no choice but to fire you. We have the law. We have the tool. Now force their hands who work for us to implement, enforce, and get rid of it. I mean, I have no problem, Alex. Any Muslim who wants to stay in America, please do. But they're going to have to abandon Sharia and start obeying our laws here under our Constitution.
Yeah. And that's absolutely essential and non-negotiable. Annie, thank you for speaking out. Thank you for joining us today. Your website, liveuptofreedom.com. How else can people follow you?
Liveuptofreedom.com is the best place. Also, my Substack, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. I'm publishing probably 2 to 3 articles a day, just going over all of this. On social media, they can find me under my name, Annie Cyrus. But liveuptofreedom.com and liveuptofreedom.substack.com are the best places to basically get educated on dangers of Islam.
Annie Cyrus, founder of liveuptofreedom.com. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your work.
Absolutely my pleasure. Be safe, Alex.
You as well, and God bless you. All right, folks, we got one more segment. We spoke with Mike Lindell just a few weeks ago. We did a little segment for our paid subscribers, our newsletter at our Substack. You can get on that, by the way, for free, libertysentinel.org. Just click that subscribe button. But it was so powerful, we wanted to share it with you as well. So it's been a few weeks since we sent that to our paid subscribers. But stay tuned. We're going to be right back after this break with a little segment with the great Mike Lindell on some of what is going on in his world, the election integrity world, and even the weaponization of government issue. We'll be right back.
Are you concerned about your child's education? Have you considered looking into alternatives to public school but don't know where to start? Greater Than I Ministries will give you the tools you need with a free Home Educators Kit and 15% off our Thinking Like a Christian Biblical Worldview video series. Available on DVD or streamed to your home or device, this series will thoroughly equip you and your family with the truth you need about the battle of ideas being waged against our families and our nation. And our free Home Educators Kit will provide you with links directly connecting you with all the resources you need if you're considering rescuing your children from the public indoctrination schools. Go to gtimin.com and click the green banner at the top to receive your free Home Educators Kit and 15% off our Thinking Like a Christian Worldview video series. Again, that's gtimin.com and click the green banner at the top. You'll be glad you did.
I'm Alex Newman, your host. We have a very, very special guest joining us today, the one and only Mike Lindell, founder and CEO of the great company MyPillow. Of course, I sleep on MyPillow every night. I love that stuff. Mike, it's great to see you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Alex. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a great honor. Mike, I want to start with elections. I know you have been, you've dedicated a lot of years of your life now to this issue. We're seeing some action at the state level, some action at the federal level. Where do you think we are in the big scheme of things, and what more needs to be done?
Well, it's, I don't know if everybody's seen the news lately. I'm still being attacked by big machine companies and lawsuits and lawfare. They've attacked me and MyPillow more than anything now. And why is that, everybody? Because I want to get rid of the machines that go to paper ballots hand counted. That's the only reason, everybody. If I walked away from this, they'd go, okay, we're fine with him. We won't attack anymore. But we're in a great place with the president about a month ago. I met with him about a month ago. I'm going to be meeting with him in a week and a half. And he came out after that meeting with a executive order. It's about 70% of what we need. There was all kinds of great things in there. Tulsi Gabbard came out, as you all know, and said, hey, there were problems with these machines. And then it was all over the place. Mike Lindell's been vindicated. Mike Lindell's been vindicated. I'm going, you guys, for me, the vindication's going to come when we go to paper ballots hand counted. Now, we are working, Alex, we're working from the bottom up. We still have the Cause of America, the Election Crime Bureau. I have over 300,000 people on the ground in all 50 states. We're working very hard there at that county level to get to where we need to get to. And then you have the president from the top down. We're under a very critical timeline because they need to be gone by next year at this time, or maybe June at the latest. That the uniparties, especially the Republican Party, steals their candidates in where? The primaries. That's why when you get to the general elections, you go, how did this guy get here? Who put this guy in? I'll tell you who put him in, a computer. There you go. And so we're under this timeline, but The public has shifted. Even the media somewhat has shifted. You're not going to see any of this on Fox News or Newsmax, because of lawfare. But now they can't hide stuff because our voices have expanded so much for the last 4 years with great podcasts like your own, great platforms, and all different social media sites now. So as we get good news, it gets magnified. And then you have all these uniparty Republicans that shove back on me that were our blockers. I call them blockers. The Brad Rassenbergers of the world, the Robin Vosses of the world, the Kim Hammers of Arkansas. These guys blocked us. And now you're going to see the next level that we're, following their lead. They're going to go, hey, the president wants this. We better go along with him or we're going to stand out. And like a sore thumb. So that's good news that has shifted. Just everybody know, you all probably all seen in the news. And by the way, everybody, I had vocal cord surgery. That's why I'm a little hoarse here. But the devil's been trying to steal my voice since 2016. I've had eight surgeries now. But
wow.
But anyway, with where we're at now. You see the news out there. Mike Lindell is weeping in court with Smartmatic. I mean, this is all over the news. They're still attacking me. I wasn't weeping, by the way, everybody. Okay. They want you to tell you that hey, if you go against the machine company, you too can be broken in court weeping for mercy. Not true. All we went to court for was to tell the judge. They told the judge I had $53 million in a checking account, and they made a little mistake, maybe $5,000, not $53 million. So, but
wow.
Normally, but they did it just to leak it out of court and make it look like that I'm that. But I will tell everybody, we do need your help. If anybody wants to help, you go to lindellplan.com. We need to secure our elections. I've had that site up, which have the Election Crime Bureau. It's lindellplan.com. Go there and see what's going on locally and help out. We also have vocal.com, VOCL.com. That's the election app right there. So I'm very encouraged, Alex.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Mike. I'm so glad to hear it. And folks, you can also support Mike and his work by going to mypillow.com and ordering from there. If you use the promo code Newman, you're going to get big discounts on some of the best products on the market. Not only have great products, but you're also going to be able to help fund this incredible effort to save our country. Mike, I want to turn to Tina Peters. You and I were talking a little bit before we went live, and you mentioned that there was good news. I'll tell you what, I'm really excited. Share with the folks the great news happening with Tina right now.
Well, this about a month ago, our president came out with or the administration came out with, and they can't pardon her, you guys. This is a state thing versus federal. Everyone says, well, why doesn't the president just go in there and pardon her? The president sent out it's called like a petition of interest or something like that. I forget what it's called. And they put that out in Colorado. Now, in Colorado, the corrupt politicians are some of the worst in the United States, starting with Jenna Griswold. Anyway, their attorney general there, and they told the judge to suppress that, to just ignore what the president's administration said. Yesterday, everybody, if you look it up, the judge ruled no. We are going to look at this. We are going to look at this. It might seem insignificant to a lot of you out there. This is a big win for a state full of corruption. And all of a sudden, a judge makes a ruling against their own state, saying, "Hey, let's look into this. Let's get, he said, we're going to look at this. You guys both bring your stuff." I mean, here's a Gold Star mom that's in prison for 9 years and not even be able to get out in an appeal. Never had a jaywalking ticket in her life, ever. She wasn't, I don't even know if she was a Republican. I think she was like neutral. And she was a county clerk doing her job. And this is a political prisoner. And I don't even call it a political, it's an evil. It's just evil, holding her hostage, using her, saying, if you speak out about the machines, or go against the voting machines, you too can be in prison like Tina Peters. They call it, I think they have a name for it in Colorado. You get Tina Peters. You know, you want to get Tina Peters? You know,
It is crazy, Mike. It's absolutely crazy. But we have seen some really interesting developments, like Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, who was going after Donald Trump. Now it looks like she's got quite a few skeletons in her closet.
Right.
Do you think we need federal investigations of something? Are we talking about criminal activity in Colorado to railroad an innocent person? And if so, do we need federal investigations going on here?
Well, I think that, you know, the lawyers that I'm covering now, by the way, you guys can check out the Lindell Offense Fund or the Lindell Plan. That also, those funds are going to cover Tina Peters' attorneys and stuff. So you guys can help all that way. It's a new angle. You're exactly right, Alex. It needs to be investigated. In Colorado, there were so many crimes committed, not just against the people of Colorado, but us as the United States. Jenna Griswold, the Secretary of State of Colorado, she did more stuff. You know, remember, she's a Democrat. She was almost neck and neck with Crooked Brad Raffensperger down in Georgia, a Republican. She deleted everybody, all of the data of the 2020 election and called it the trusted bill. That was my evidence too in my lawsuits. So it was illegal. You're supposed to hold them 22 months by federal law, 26 months, I believe, by Colorado law. They deleted it all. With all their machines. Now, also, there was another crime committed. She's accusing Tina Peters that a password leaked to the internet that was, by the way, that was completely invalid. It had timed out. In the state of Colorado, she had a breach. All the passwords went out to all over Colorado, which from the Secretary of State's office. So there is so much crime that underneath that in Colorado that involves the whole country, because that's the one place where we have the image that shows what the computers did in Mesa County, Colorado. And remember, that first investigation was not about the general election. It was about Mesa County's election, where it was a deviation. It was impossible that all these Democrats won on these things. That was the first thing where the people came to Tina Peters and said, hey, there's something wrong here. This is impossible. There must be something going on. And so she's going, well, being the county clerk says, well, I better look into it.
Wow. Well, this is encouraging. Before we go to break, Mike, I do want to ask, are you optimistic? I mean, based on what we've seen so far in the first few months of the Trump administration and based on what we're seeing at the state level, are you optimistic that we're going to turn our country around?
Yes, I'm going to tell you real quick here. With the president and I last summer, I was sitting with him, and he goes, and I was telling him how all the destruction of our country was actually a good thing. God uses all things for good, because everybody was opening people's eyes. And he looked at me and said, but Mike, I don't know if we can get it fixed in the 4 years. And he looks at me, I look at him and I said, sir, with God, all things are possible. And God working through you, you'll get it done faster and better than anyone. You guys, look what he's done so far. This is a miracle. It is a miracle of what's going on. We are only a few months into this. And you know what? This is why I tell you that the evil's got one big card to play, and that's stealing the House and the Senate during these next midterms. That's why it's so important to get to paper ballots and counting. By the way, Alex, they stole 4 senators and 9 congressmen in the 2024 election that we know of.
Wow. Yeah, and folks, that with the thin margin we've got in Congress, that can be the difference between passing a law to help save the country or not being able to get it passed. Mike, this has been fantastic. We're going to continue this discussion for our subscribers. Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back after the break here on the Sentinel Report. And for those of you who want to see the rest of this discussion, get over to libertysentinel.org, sign up for the newsletter there. And Mike, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. That's all we have for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you were informed. I hope you Christians out there were equipped. And thank you for tuning in. I'm Alex Newman. This is the Sentinel Report. Go check us out at libertysentinel.org, libertysentinel.org. All kinds of resources for free. Till next week, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. God bless you all.